All right, good afternoon, traders, and welcome to the Bookmap Academy meeting. We do this every Thursday, and we go through and coach and mentor Academy members, give feedback on their content, their trading activity. This is all part of the Bookmap Academy. If you're interested in this, this is what you do. Go to bookmap.com. Sign up is free, and go to the More button here. Under Community, go to Bookmap Academy here, and you can read through this. There we go. You can read through this and how to sign up and what it is exactly and what you do and what are the requirements. Step one is to apply. And then start creating content, and then you can be accepted to the Bookmap Junior Academy, which is a testing ground, a proving ground. If you can create high-level content with a threshold of like just one per day, then you can get Bookmap for free. If you do 2 per day, you can also get the MBO bundle for free as well. And then there's a whole process here. If you continue on, you can become a coach and give feedback to other traders, and you can also get data for free. And you can also become a Bookmap streamer and reach many more people with the way you trade and helpful hints and coaching, mentoring, so that everyone gets your information and becomes a better trader. So just you sign up here, and a few notes to go through before we begin here, and that is that we have a competition going on right now. It is the Crypto March Madness competition. Still going on until the end of the month here. So crypto's open 24/7. So you can join, you can compete, all sorts of prizes in here. This is the page that you can go to. It's competition.bookmap.com, or you can use your phone and take a screenshot of the QR code here and sign up. You will need to be part of the Bookmap Academy. So anyone who is if they're winning and they're not part of the academy, they will not win. All right, so they have to be a part of the Bookmap Academy to win. It's for the academy, and we're mixing these two together. All right, so this is where you sign up, and just a quick nice shout out here. We've got Stan, one of our coaches. We've got Steven, demo trader here, and other guys in here as well, doing really well. Really nice to see up on the leaderboard. And there's a quick guide for connecting here, and there's FAQs here. Okay, so I just needed to go through that. And then also disclosures, general disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. There's a few more things to go through in here for today before we jump in with the coaching. So we had a really nice webinar yesterday with Donkey Face, a Bookmap Academy member. Let me show you where the recording is. If you didn't catch it or you want to re-watch it, if there's something that piqued your interest and want to find it, it is under here. I'll put the link into the chat for you as well. It's in the Bookmap Blue Jacket special events playlist, and you'll see it. Here's one on Jack. Here's Donkey Face right here. And yeah, you can see a few others in here as well. Okay, so we'll put that link in for you so you can go check it out. And let's see a few other things here. Yeah, the Bookmap Blue Jacket. Regarding the Blue Jacket, this is the competition that we have. It's from bookmap.com/Blue Jacket. You can win 3 months of Global Plus and for stocks and futures with data. Okay, so sign up for this. This is now integrated. It was separate and it was a little confusing for a lot of people. So what we've done is we've integrated it within the Bookmap Academy. So Academy members, they can compete every month on this as well. Maybe you win and great, you know. So most of the coaches have already, I think, yeah, except for some of the coaches from years ago, they have all won the competition. So anyway, you can sign up for this. It will be, like I said, integrated, and you will post now within the Bookmap Academy room. Right, that's the new news on the Blue Jacket competition. All right, so I want to jump into the content for today. So hold on a minute. Let me bring that up. Okay. All right. This on the side. Okay. And I want to go over Steven's content. I mean, he's been knocking it out of the park in the competition. And some great stuff in here. Also Slowdown. Actually, before we jump into that, congratulations to Slowdown. So there's the prizes in the competition. One is the winner, first, second, and third place. Okay, so let me bring up that page one more time here. Hold on. All right, so here you can the winner's going to get 1 year of Global Plus subscription plus 500 USDT. The second place gets 6 months, third place gets 3 months, but there's 2 bonus prizes here for best content posted in the Bookmap Academy room, and there's still 1 more to win. It will be announced on April 2nd. So March 26th, Slowdown has won that one, and he created some pretty amazing content. Just pretty impressive stuff in here. The breadth of trading that Slowdown has illustrated here is really phenomenal. He's going through a reversal trade. He's going through a continuation trade. He's going through range bound trades. He's going through fundamental events. He's going through liquidity events. It just, I mean, this is like you know, showing experienced wisdom from a veteran trader, and being able to take advantage of these so clearly. So some really great content in here. Well-deserved victory for Slowdown. And there's some in here that really piqued my interest. I think the winner was this one here. We had to pick a winner because he's showing also a small loss that he took, and then he took the winner here, and then got out down in these areas in here. This is his signature trade, and just nailed it. And also showing trade management in here. Take the small loss. Probably in hindsight, I would imagine he's looking at it too and thinking, wow, you know, high liquidity here, transacts, and then you still stayed in it, and then you saw this buying coming in here, and you're like, I'm out. Like, I think it's perfect management on that, like because you don't know if this is going to be a little flag pattern right here and continue on up, especially in crypto. I mean, look at the volume behind this, and it's looking really good. But this relationship between liquidity and transactions, and then the sellers come in, he gets in again and nails it. Okay, so really nice stuff on there. Another one that just I thought was pretty amazing was this one here. Steven has some like this as well. I mean, we covered this, I think, on Monday in the webinars about the liquidity being such an pertinent element within the crypto markets. So Stephen has some great examples too, but anyway, look at this move into high liquidity up here. And look at the move right back down into high liquidity here. Okay, this happened just the other day as well. Really huge gyrations in crypto market just before the open, or maybe at the cash open yesterday, and then it reversed and went all the way back down. I don't know, a couple of $1,000 or something, like each move, and just liquidity grabs. Anyway, noticing these things and taking advantage of it with a trade is the way to go. Great stuff. Slowdown. Wanted to cover that for sure. And Stephen wanted to go through. We've got Stephen on the mic, and to go through his trades and what he's looking for. So I've got a few different things in here, Stephen. I'm not sure which ones you want to comment on. This one was, you said it's not part of the competition, but and it's a screenshot from Bookmap web, but I believe, yeah. And look at the move though into, again, just look at this high liquidity in here, and they're bidding up underneath or on top here, the move into it, and look at the beautiful move out of it. So Stephen, yeah, just guide me, take it away. Maybe you want to comment on this one to begin with.
Hello to everyone in the Bookmap Academy. Not too sure where to take this, but basically on this day, this was about a month back, I just noticed a move and I was like, I wonder what that looks like on the Bookmap. And I went and looked, and what do you know? It's the stuff that we're learning from the All Markets streams. And I applied a bit of my price action, like terminology with the higher lows and all that. So basically, you got the lower lows and it trades into the liquidity at the bid, it gets absorbed. And then I just noticed like the same content that I'm busy learning from Bruce's streams, it applies here. And then, you see the structure on the top there, the little red line. And then the buyers break above it, and you're starting to see a series of higher lows. And then like Stan always says, you've got the bid, the skew and the imbalance in the bottom, busy pressing. And I just found it fascinating that I could see these things here. And then I just like, normally I'm not too like amped to notate or do a screenshot, but I was like, yes, I have to do this. So I quickly did it and I sent it to Dan. But initially I actually noted up the price action charts. I can't remember which ones it was now. It was either the 5-minute or 15-minute. I don't know. It was like a more higher time frame perspective. And then I went to the Bookmap, and then I saw this. Well, this has to go with that as well. Yeah, it was quite interesting to see. And then, funny enough, we have the BTC comp at the moment, and it's funny that I'm doing well. I'm actually a struggling trader, to be all honest. Like I have good runs, and that boom and bust cycle. So I'm also on the journey like everyone else. But I put a lot of work into basically, reviewing what happened, like any trades that I took, what worked, what didn't work. Yeah, that's pretty much. Is there anything else?
Yeah,
I mean, to point out.
I think if there's anything in here that you wanted to cover, because I've got a few of your images that you posted.
Yeah.
And if there's anything in here that you want to mention, please do.
Yeah, so. I think this one was from yesterday. It was before the RTH Open. I just saw a setup. I also have this very bad habit of like, I'm a perma bear, like I'm always looking for shorts. So initially when I saw that descending channel there, the two red lines, I was like, okay, it looks like this could be a sell-off. It could be a sell-off, but we also know BTC people always shorting, and then they get their buy stops get triggered. So then I was looking for a pullback, And if you look at my white lines, that's kind of the structure that I was looking at. And of course, you can get pullbacks and then it falls through. But what's interesting is this one worked out, of course. The examples you always share is the ones that work out. But if you zoom in, well, the purple rectangle, that's the zoomed in view of what's actually going on there. What I like to do with my slides, I want context. So that's why I have these windows. I like to add a lot of detail. If I just see one screenshot, I'm like, okay, but where is this in the overall picture? So I have like a higher time frame, and I drop down like that. Yeah, so this one was a quick one. I got in with one contract, and I was worried that it was going to push lower, so that's why I stepped in with one contract, and then it actually played out quite nicely. It found support and it rallied off, and it's the same thing that applies. So you've got your structures, that red line and the green line. It breaks above the red line, pulls back, finds support. It has a higher low, and then that will be your ideal entry. I have a bad habit of sometimes, getting in before I get those signals, and it doesn't always it doesn't always like pan out how you were expecting. But there are times that, of course, I do get in at the right time, like with the pullback and the higher low, and then the buyer stepping in. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to show myself, okay, this is the ideal scenario. So it's me trying to notate and gather criteria for my trade plan. And I always talk about trade plan because it seems like this is definitely the thing that you need to focus on the most. And everyone talks about focusing on one setup. I do focus on more than one setup. I don't know why, but my mind is interested in that. And it's I believe it's like the hardest way to go about it, but I'm fine with it because my mindset is more focused on process over outcome. So luckily I'm still in this experimental phase where I'm doing this more on demo, but I think I've been making amazing progress, and Bookmap has given me that edge. So I'm trying to gel the two together. Is anything else? Hello? It's gone silent.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Whatever you like, Stephen. I mean, these were the images that I had kind of grabbed, the screen shares I grabbed from the Bookmap Academy. And if there's anything in here that was helpful for you, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, one more thing. And you can see over here. So basically, that trade I was just talking about now, you can see, it's still from the same day and everything. You can see that I'm aiming for the liquidity. So the liquidity in the Bookmap is giving me a sense like, okay, that's where I'm kind of shooting for targets. And so before I never used to trade with Bookmap, so I had no idea, and I'll just hold. Like I've got this bad habit as well. I don't know if it's a bad habit, but my strong point is I can stay in a trade. Like I'm not afraid to hold the trade, and I go for big moves. And sometimes it works great. And, of course, many people know it doesn't always work out. I guess it's greed, or I don't know what it is, but I like to go for long target ranges. But Bookmap, it's such a great tool. And when I saw the value of it, the value is clear. So it was a no-brainer to get. And if I have to make a comparison, I'm miles better than what I used to be, because I had no idea where I was going. And with the free education on the learning center that you guys provide, it's amazing that it's free. There's so much stuff out there that's misleading as well, with time frame and all that. But and then again, there's my price action charts for context. And if you look at the top right diagram with the red, it's the same thing. That's just before the RTH. And then when it popped out there and those bear candles on the top, that's when the RTH opened. And I believe the ES had the same reaction. The overnight high, that was the high, and it just sold off, which
Yeah,
was quite interesting. They both did the same thing.
yeah, yeah. I remember this yesterday as well.
Oh, one more thing. Another thing I do with the bookmap chart, which I didn't put here, but basically the yellow rectangle on the left. I do the same thing, but I zoom out a lot on the crypto chart. I've got a copy instrument, and I zoom out to see like where are the other liquidity levels. That also gives me some insight of like, how far to go with this trade. I didn't mention that, and I don't think I shared a screenshot. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay. The zoom out, like we're working on that functionality to be able to zoom out for everybody to be able to see a lot more data. Instrument copy is a great way to do it. If anyone has any questions on this, I can demo it tomorrow and go over it.
No stream tomorrow.
That's right. I'm sorry, not tomorrow.
No stream. Monday.
Yeah, exactly. On Monday.
Yeah.
We don't have the new functionality yet. It's a work in progress, but the instrument copy I can definitely go through for you guys.
Yeah.
And you should utilize it like Stephen is. This is key to understand. So
that's likely the reason why I add in these price action charts as well. It's just for that context. I don't know if anyone takes any value from it, but it's for me. Otherwise, I'm like, where is this move? Where is this rotation forming?
Yeah, I can see you added it in here.
I try and draw it in.
Yeah, right here. That's funny. Yeah, great stuff. And there's your context right there. I mean, how much more clear do you want to get?
Yeah, I might have exited a bit early
here
on this move. Yeah. I don't know if anyone knows, but like crypto sometimes reacts quite quickly. So I was trying to climb up the leaderboard. So yeah.
yeah. That's the
competitive side.
It's a good point. Guys, we'll do a special event and we'll go over in detail crypto and Stephen, we can go through some more content with you and others. But there's a lot of lessons to learn. I tried to cover some things in the first couple of days for the webinars on Monday and Tuesday because these markets they're tough and they move fast and hard. And then like on Wednesday, yesterday, it moved up and even further back down. I mean, it was, just insane. Thousands of dollars. Like I forget how big this move was, but it was over $1,000, I think. And then right back down, and then some.
Yeah, yesterday it fell quite deep, and I was looking for another long play, and it just kept falling and falling, and I was like waiting for specific criteria. Eventually, I did get it where it it formed a reversal pattern where it was like channeling at the bottom, but it was lagging. I don't know if anyone noticed, but the ES fell, but then kind of pulled out. That I think it also made new highs. I can't recall right now. And with BTC, it took a while. Only late at night, it ended up getting into a bullish trend with higher lows, etc. But yeah, it is a ruthless market, like you say.
Yeah, I mean that what you just said though is just, I mean, your progress has been just amazing. Like when you first started to and this isn't very long ago either, like 4 months ago or something.
Yeah,
you started posting, and we gave you feedback on your posts.
I
Like
was seeing too much.
you're looking at way too much. Look at your posts now.
Yeah, it's more specific, more focused. I might be taking on too much again. Like I said, I'm getting a little distracted because every day I work on my trade plan, and my trade plan is not electronic. I do it manually. I have sections, I have subfolders. I'll actually take a photo and share it. And I'm building it out manually, and it's tricky. It's very tricky, but it takes a lot of my time. But at the moment, I'm just focusing on the ES, trying to master that. I'm taking more of like Tom B's approach, but I do see the flag. I understand it more or less, but I need to put it into this framework, this trade plan that I have to make myself. Like Donkey said yesterday, it has to be your thing. But yes, learn from others and take other pieces and see if it understands and flows with you.
Yeah, well said.
But
Um, exactly.
but but definitely what you just said now, I think it comes down to the academy. If there's anyone out there that's struggling, throw your hat over the fence. Take accountability. Well, this is one way of taking accountability. It's sharing stuff and then getting feedback. Because when you gave me that feedback that I'm seeing too much, then I was like, okay, well, what changes can I make to make it easier for them as well and me? Because clearly he's pointing something out that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, it's yeah, you're really saying some really nice things. One thing that just caught my ear was as you're waiting for the crypto market to come back down and you're looking to long it again,
Mm,
um, that you kept waiting, but you didn't take it because it didn't meet your criteria.
yeah.
That is beautiful to hear. So you did take it when it finally met your criteria,
Yeah.
and
I
it.
think I did share that as well. I might have. I don't know.
Okay, let me see if I got it. But
Just see.
is this it here? Maybe. Yeah, yeah. This something like this.
Oh, okay. This slide. Basically, I was still waiting for it. I was busy with the prior slide, and I noticed the liquidity getting pulled and then a book flip. So I was like, okay, let me screenshot this and send this in. Another um, Bookmap Academy submission. Because
Yeah,
I am like kind of behind on my slides. Yeah, so this is why I got inspired. But what's also interesting with the crypto thing is like you're seeing it over and over. It moves so quick as well.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, Stephen, really compliments, really nice stuff and incredible progress.
Thank you. It's thanks to the community as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. I
appreciate it.
mean, the coaches and everyone in the academy. This is exactly what the academy is all about. And you can get Bookmap for free too. It's as you know, the reason I throw that in there is I don't mean it as a plug. I mean it as a thank you. And that's actually I'll take another minute and then we want to pivot over to the other coaches and give them a chance. But that's how this academy was formed to begin with. Was some years ago I was the one doing the social media. I didn't have time to create a lot of content, so I started retweeting a lot of people's posts. And David, you'll remember this. And again and again, and I was so thankful for your guys'
Yeah.
great
Oh yeah.
content. And it was like, well, why don't we do this? You guys continue doing what you're doing, but you got to do it every day, and then we'll give you Bookmap for free. And that was the deal. And now we've made it public. It was enclosed for some years, and now it's open to everybody. So same deal here. So that's That's what's part of the academy. Thank you so much, Stephen.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Let's move on, guys. And David, you're up next. So yeah, hold on a minute.
Yeah, you found no great chart in there by Stephen, and I did really enjoy, Stephen, the context you've got. The phrase I use, it's not my phrase, it's those sort of wing mirrors on your car. So you're looking at different time frames to your trading frame. You've got your trading frame, and then you've got your wing mirrors. And my screens that I've got set up on my screen these days is very much that context in terms of, and if anyone sees my posts, I will occasionally throw up sort of a 1 hour chart, a 15-minute chart, a daily chart, just to give it the context of where we are, what the battlefield. Let's pull back, let's look at the theatre of war that we're in here and how we're going to play in it. Right, okay, thanks, Bruce. So, and thanks to Dunwinner, to James for some great chart in here. The first one we've got on chart 1 is a Russell chart, great boxed in, great use of Scott's zones. And as I would say, Russell, I've not traded myself for a good couple of years. I used to trade this. I always talk about Tom, but those will know that I used to trade a lot with Tom on Skype if we go back many years. And the scary thing can be about the Russell is you can put the levels in, as those that trade it know. You go and put an entry in a limit order, and you are actually, it's one of the few things you actually see Bookmap getting filled. So good luck playing that. Nice patience you've got on the trade here. You've waited for the trade to come to you. You've then executed it to myself. When I look at that, that's quite bold, but then you're using the system, which is perfect. You're using your system. There is the entry. You've placed the entry. We can see where the entry was on the far left. So off you go. Brilliant. And then you're just taking out a few handles up to the exit 3. Again, you know exactly where it is. We can see your trade's gone in, the TP has gone in straight away, and you just let it run. One of your questions you've got rightly is that it's a successful 65-70% winners, fantastic, risk reward is low, all those great metrics and so forth. Should you be looking for more, or can you look for more? Sort of poor analogies, whether it's golfing or so forth. If you, and it's a plural you, it's a, as I'll often say, the sort of the French word of vous. If you can successfully go into this market and just take 2-3 handles out, or one handle, or whatever it is, and do that successfully, and do that day in, day out, you can make a living. I'm going to pick on Moby. Those that know Moby, he scalps away on Nasdaq. He'll deny it, but he'll scalp away on Nasdaq. You've seen him trade literally for a couple of handles, but he makes a living doing it. So as long as you're comfortable, and I think that you mentioned this a moment ago, Bruce, when we were talking, or you were talking about one or two things. If you can do that, absolutely fantastic. Play your own game. Back to the golfing thing. Just because your buddies get up on the tee and they're wrapping some large TaylorMade around their neck, sort of 9-degree driver, because they're hoping to smack it 300 odd yards down the fairway, play your 3-iron. Just play it down the center, be on the center of the fairway, play your own game. So that's how I'd answer that sort of question. I think you're actually on the call. I think actually, Bruce, we may be able to bring James on if he's around. I'd be interested to know a little bit more about what other confluences you use. Now, I appreciate when I'm saying that Nasdaq, ES, the mags and the fangs, there is a lot more confluence. Russell is a little bit different, but be interested to know if you've got any other confluences you are using apart from these sort of setups and so forth. And I'll swing into you, Bruce, on this chart, please, and see what you've got to add, or even Jack if he's around.
I don't really have too much to say. I mean, I like. I'm a little confused on the entry here. I mean, you got Scott zones, I know, but there's nothing here really in the order flow that's from what I see. In fact, there's some risk here, and I really like the exit though up here with the swing right here. Makes a real clear sense to me. But the entry here, and then there's no structure broken, but then I'm not seeing high liquidity. And it looks like the volume, I can't really see too much on volume dots. They're very small.
It's
And,
the Russell. This is the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You are the market, Chris. That's the
It's
thing.
it's just true. It's true. Um, but like when you see that kind of flow and shift and change, and it's distinct. It's like what Donkey was saying yesterday, of like he doesn't want to take the heat. And you're opening yourself up to the heat, and maybe that is, if this is your level and that's your trading style. I mean, like we had the Carmine Rosado webinar last week. He doesn't care. He wants in. He'll take the heat. And then we had Donkey Face very clearly say, I don't want to take the heat. And he would be getting in someplace in here and just trying to ride it right away. This almost looks just like his setup, in fact.
Yeah.
So, this is a really good execution of Scott's.
It is, isn't it?
His setups here. You often see a lot of this where you'll get that kind of not quite consolidation, but kind of volume petering out right after you reach that ATR level. For his specific setups that he has kind of documented, you'll see that kind of more sidewaysy action. You don't necessarily see a lot of like heavy volume for or against you for a little while. Just more typically, it still can obviously break you, but you definitely want to have those stops there, which obviously he does. So it's great to see that. And we can see it directly on the chart here, so that's good to see. But yeah, it's definitely one of more of his kind of setups, reversals, looking for it. And what's interesting is he does get another sweep there afterwards, which kind of helps him in that direction, because that sweep's going to cause an imbalance. So it's a short side sweep. And you would expect that after a short side sweep, you'd have some long continuation on the imbalance, which actually just helps this overall position go long even further. I probably would have looked to enter after the sweep personally, if I was looking at that particular level and I missed the initial short. Yeah, right there. That's really where I would have looked. So it's a great setup, though. I mean, it's aggressive for sure, but I mean, you've got to stop. You're willing, it's not that bad. It's only the Russell, 5 points. I've had a couple worse over the years. So,
Yep.
But she's a dead horse, and all of a sudden she just rears alive, and she'll go 20 points on you. So definitely have those stops in place. But yeah, it's not bad though. It's hard. It's a heat setup though, for sure. It's aggressive, like you were mentioning, Bruce.
Shocked Bruce into silence, I think.
Sorry, guys. I was just talking, and I was looking for Donkey's feedback on there, and he goes, "Yep, that's it. That's my setup." Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donkey. I mean, it was really great. Really enjoyed it. So anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Sure.
And
We got a Nasdaq here, so a very different beast for sure to Russell, and it's nice to see so many people actually trading the Nasdaq. That is for sure. I'd echo again, good use of Scott's tools, great boxing and so forth on the chart. So really clear to anyone sort of reading that. You've got a question within here about sort of sitting on your hands for the first sort of open of the minute or getting going. Myself, I've tried both over the years, but now I'm ready to punch. I punch and ask questions later. I used to find by sitting on my hands, I'd often get frustrated, feeling the FOMO, I've missed out on a move. And I'll often use stop entries, as I did today, either side of the market, to be able to actually get in on that initial, it might be only 3 or 4 handles on the S move, but still it allows me to snag a little bit of greenery and so forth. So we've got a nice entry at 2, as you can see. Although when I look at the chart myself again, I think we're echoing what we said on the last one regarding using the system rightly, working the system, believing in the system, trusting the system. But certainly when I look at that price action there myself, I wouldn't have been in a rush to get in. What I typically look for on Nasdaq, and I think I may have touched on this last week, and you see it just on the left there where you've got the white dots going up, those strong V's. Sorry, on the left, my bad, Bruce, my bad. Yeah, those V's are often another check for me on anything else that I'm trading. Be interested to know also a little bit about, if I use the word again, sorry to repeat it, that sort of confluence that you're using on Nasdaq, where we said on Russell it's a lot harder, the dead horses, as Jack was saying, with NQ, we've got the mags, we've got the fangs, whatever we want to call them, we've got spot gamma, to name other things. There's other tools that we can add into that mix to reduce the risk, increase the return on the sort of trade that we're taking. Either way, great trade. At the end of the day, you got in and you got out, as we can see at 3. So well done on that. I'd also be interested to know, what other trades after that were you thinking after 3? Because I'm sure Jack's going to say we've got not quite a sort of a higher low coming through, but do you, when you executing that trade as a scalper, are you looking to sort of swing another punch, jab straight? What is your technique? Although you might say, no, that's not how Scott works, David. So that's where that one is. Bruce, over to you, please.
So
swinging the baseball. Oh, that's it.
I have the same comments in here, like as before. Like I see it. I see the Scott zones, right, and the blue lines here. But to me, this is pretty critical, or criticism here. But there's you're adding risk in here because you're just trading off of lines, this is what Bookmap offers, is being able to understand the order flow and the transactions in context to the lines. And here there's still volume, there's still sweeps here, and it's still going. And this is the risk that you took, and I can see your stop is up here, and your take profit is down here. The risk reward is a little lopsided. I would suggest, like, maybe just a kind of an aggressive trend line, or trend lines, like to kind of maybe, if it's a technical line, to help justify, and then look for that selling to come in. Maybe something like that might help you better around these Scott zones.
So one of the setups with it utilizes essentially the internal Bookmap workings, obviously, with the way it looks at specific sweeps events within Bookmap and the market pulls. And then from there, it's using ATR based entries and stop locations. And that's what that red line is above, that's his second ATR. So if it goes from the first one without, coming back and retesting, it would be a point to like chicken out and get out of the trade. So it's just the way this specific setup works. It's off of that sweep from initially where it was created. If you get the pullback after the ATR, you're looking for that continuation. If you don't, you're looking for that reversion back into it. It's not specifically more of an order flow type trade. You could use order flow with it, obviously, like there's nothing wrong with it. It is just one of those, like, you're looking at it specifically off of that, and then you're looking at confluence once you're into the position for the most part. So kind of the sweeps that are lining up, at the 932 and then the 932 and a half mark, while they aren't necessarily helping, they're not hurting the potential setup for Scott's setup. It is essentially like, that's the way this one specifically works. Now, kind of coming off of that, more continuously, kind of going back to what David said, using order flow off that number 3 and getting that push back to the ATR is definitely something that I've been looking at, and it's definitely more doable, especially if you look kind of, it's very muted based on the current order flow that we can see in the order book liquidity there. But just to the right of 3 in the black box, you can see that heavy band of liquidity there. And we know that that liquidity is either it's going to act as a magnet. Now, magnets have 2 directions. They go positive and negative. So you can get repellent or you can get attractive. And in this case, we can see it. It's acting as a repellent in this case. It's acting as a support of price. And you can kind of use that with Scott's zones there. So if you wanted to kind of look at the next step there and you get that liquidity setting up and you get that lower high or that higher low that David was talking about, looking for a confluence back to that 1 ATR or taking it for a 2x extension works really, really good in those kinds of setups for confluence. It just depends on kind of what you're looking at. You definitely want to be aware of ATR though, because on some of these, you can get a spike in ATR and it can offset your position. So your risk reward, if you decide to go long there, could end up hurting you. So just be aware of that concept. But yeah.
No,
Just kind of
great.
back to what David said. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, great points. And to the question at the very bottom there of the box in terms of bending the rules and so forth, absolutely. Take all of us. I say all of us. We've taken, copied, fine-tuned some other person's setups, and we've made them our own by little tweaks. So take those great points that Jack is saying and other things, and going, yeah, okay, I'm going to try that next week. Maybe it's in sim or something, or I'm going to do it on playback, and see if that just does actually just make me, back to my golf analogies of the TaylorMade and the 3.5 to tee, what is really going to work for you, and just nudge the success rate up a little bit.
And you don't need to do something that you're already familiar with. Like, I only had 2 days this weekend to check the competition for the crypto competition. I literally threw a dozen strats at the mix. Most of them were losers, but I found one that was a pretty good winner that I passed on to Dan. He's trying it and he's messing around with it. But you're not going to find those things unless you bend the rules, and you should do so in a risk-adverse environment like sim mode, like David's mentioning. That's how you do these things, and that's how you get more experience. Like, it's that cause and effect. Try, see what happens, document what happens. Don't do it again, right? If it's bad. If it is good, do it many times and capitalize on those markets. So bend the rules, but remember, at the end of the day, it's your risk, right? And as long as you're okay with your risk, kind of going what Bruce said earlier, if you're okay with your risk, continue going. Do not put your account ever at risk, though. Like, it should never be at risk. If you're at risk of losing $100, that's fine. But if you're risk of blowing your account, don't do it. Be smart.
Okay.
Wise words indeed. Wise words indeed. Right, another Nasdaq one here. Am I right on that, Bruce? So good use again, repeating the points on Scott's. Nice to see a pre-market or ETH into RTH trade. And if I jump into the thoughts of the question, and Jack, you see this in the spot gamma room, quite a few guys are getting up bluntly in the middle of the night, and I appreciate different parts of the US, to come and get some of that pre-market action. John out of New York, one of the previous Blue Jacket winners, Bruce, we've seen him at some crazy times. He's joining the European traders. So if there's a answer to that question, yeah, definitely look to come and get some pre-market action. Very often that pre-market action can be a complete sucker's punch 180. It can rally up or go down and go completely the other way. But you can get some really simple, as we're seeing here, some simple trends. Now that leads me to a question on this trade. You've been looking to take the short all along, which, stepping back as a micro and a macro comment, in the current, as Jack, you always see me say, well, it's a styrofoam market, i.e. you can push styrofoam down in the water, but it's going to bob up. So short in this market, particularly the Nasdaq, is bluntly, for me anyway, quite a bold move. So you were looking for the short because that's what your system is telling you. But back to what we've just been talking about, maybe tweaking that system. Is short in this market always the right thing to do? That's certainly one thing that I'd add in to that and so forth. And again, I would reiterate again about the confluences, and again, a lot of us are looking at we're looking at the underlying assets that form part of that Nasdaq. Whether it's Tesla, whether it's Nvidia, we saw today at the very start of the market, I think it was Amazon was getting absolutely pumped off the chart, which is unusual for Amazon, Apple. They don't normally move that fast. And I know, Jack, at times you've been sharing some charts on Google and stuff, or Alphabet, I should say, in terms of the way that sort of scoots around. So bringing some of those tools to just slightly bend the rules can, again, I know I'm sort of saying the same thing, Bruce, of just tuning down the risk on the trades. But yeah, nice to see that trade through the ETH into RTH. Over to you, Bruce, please. Again?
Yeah, no real comments on here. I do like the you know, if he's trading Scott zones, that's what he's trading, and he's consistent with it.
Kind of going into the order flow though a little bit on this one, you can see in the 845 to 850 that bump up right above 3, you got that large band of liquidity, and that band kind of tracks all the way through. It does look like it's an attractor the entire day. And then over at 4, you find out that it's a point of support right there. The band is gone now, a little higher, just above where price is right there. You can see if you look left of that band of liquidity was there. That band's no longer there, but people are willing to support price there. And we can see that kind of transaction higher up to the next kind of ATR zone that you're looking at, because that area of support where liquidity was. It's important to realize that liquidity doesn't necessarily need to be in the book when price is coming at it. If it was there before in a large number, it's probably going to be there when price gets to it again to some degree, and have your bias for if price gets there, what is your expectation? And then if it matches your expectation, enter your trade. And if not, you know, cut your loser or don't enter a trade. So just kind of tying it back to, you can be looking at some of these zones and utilizing these tools at the same time. Within Q specifically though, I honestly would recommend having a breakout chart and putting up Trader Map Pro. Like, it is well worth it to use that tool, just to see, because NQ it's going to move so much. And then also it has market makers bracketing price around, because that's how they have to like hedge some of their risk, and that's kind of how they have that liquidity. But it makes the NQ chart very messy, very noisy, and you can't necessarily see some of those levels. So kind of use those tools available to you with the Trader Map Pro, and you can see those liquidity points a lot better when you start, you know, filtering out, you know, less than 15 contracts in an order and stuff like that.
No, great points. And if I try and maybe swing in some of the bits that Stephen was saying earlier on, where it's great use of the setups here from Scott. So tick, tick, tick. We've had a 60 handle move while we've been trying to short it. So as Stephen was rightly talking about having some other setups in your mind, if I'm correct, Stephen, then you may have possibly had the opportunity here to have taken some of the long on that 60 handle move whilst looking for the really strong setup on the short.
And you need more confluence if you're going to, like, you broke one ATR really early for a short setup there, for a Scott's Zone short setup. In those cases, you really need to be watching the short there. Once you break that one ATR, it's been a while since I've looked specifically at his stuff, but once you've broken that one ATR, I think it invalidates the potential short setup. So just kind of be mindful of that. I'd have to double check though. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think just one more comment. There's between this image and the previous image. Again, I think, you know, combining the order flow in here's and the transaction is going to be really helpful, because look at the volume behind, you know, this move. Look at it trade into and through and bounce, and then there's still more volume here. Still more volume. We don't see any transition over. There's a little bit of selling here. That's about it. But this thing's going higher, and it's telling you that. Scott zones or no Scott zones, the order flow is telling you that.
Yeah. Styrofoam, Bruce. Styrofoam.
Yeah.
It is blue styrofoam. You got the color right. Blue styrofoam. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. Like let's move on and see. We got one more, and then let's see the agenda here.
Yeah, I didn't get comments on 4. So apologies on that one. So unless you guys want to ad lib, otherwise we can get back to the agenda.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything quickly in here, because one thing that Dune Runner really appreciate is the trading on the chart here. I've been harping about this, like, and mentioning this several times. It helps us so much more give you critical feedback, because, like, I mean, that was, you were playing against, you were swimming against the current, no doubt, on that last trade. And those other trade examples too had the potential for you were kind of swimming against the current as well. And we only know that really when we see the positions and what you did. So you know, that's really helpful to give better feedback. So please, if you are trading like into using another software, or you know, whatever it might be, try to take a demo in sim trade here as well, in Bookmap, and play around with it. I mean, like, we can give you better feedback, and it can kind of mirror your trading in your real account. So let's see, there's a long here. We got the Scott zone up here, and yeah, took some pretty bad heat here. This one actually looks pretty good to go long in this. You know, I mean, you've got the it looks like you're in a downtrend. That's one thing though. That's not good. So and we do see this pretty strong move here, which is nice. So this looks actually like a great area for a pullback, and that continuation. But it does one more move, and then it finally does its continuation here. And that's probably due to the strength of the downtrend, I would imagine. But anyway, yeah, you know, you're taking a lot of heat. Maybe consider just taking the loss quickly. It doesn't work, and then getting back in. And just if that does work for you, then just trade smaller size. Consider it, like, you know, micros. So just get good at taking a loss. It's such a hard thing to learn and swallow, but losses are a big part of the business, and the better you can get at, in my opinion, for all of us, the better we can get at taking losses quickly and without pain, the better. And then we can just let the winners just, you know, casually or hit our targets. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have any more comments.
None for me, thanks.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Back to the agenda. Let's see what we got. Just a minute. Okay, so got this was, I believe this is Stan's, is that right? Or is it Caesar's here? Or Jack, this is yours, right? Jack? Might have lost him.
I think he's off moving some aspects, so we might need to move on to Stan's content.
Okay. Let's see, or we've got slowdowns here. On to that one. Slowdown, do you want to take us through this?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You could just go ahead and enlarge that image there. This is an image from DNT Matter. And DNT's been with us for a long time. He started doing more kind of overall context awareness posts. And then he was challenged to kind of get a little more specific and create a setup and start documenting that. And so I'm kind of following up on the direction he's going. It looks like he's spending a lot of time focused on the VWAP to VPOC trade. It's often talked about in Tom's Trader Lab. So he's got his little checklist in the bottom right corner there, that white box. And so I'm not taking this trade. I'm not following Tom's room anymore, so I'm not exactly sure, the exact requirements for this trade. And when I was in the Trader Lab, they were never really outlined quite as clearly as DNT Matter is attempting to do here. So credit to him for putting himself out there and creating this first step. My comments in this slide are less about the order flow and they're more about the checklist. And I'm only speaking from my own personal experience. So, DNT, if you decide that this advice is not worth anything, that's totally cool too. But my suggestion would be consider simplifying the checklist a little bit more. I think the more times you document this, the simpler you'll be able to make your checklist, and the simpler the checklist is, the easier it is to act in real time on it. For instance, you've got on your checklist, you've got a VHVN check. And that's basically when the VPOC shifts, it's leaving a variable high volume node, according to Tom's terminology. And sometimes that happens 10 or more times in a day. And so I guess I wonder which VHVN is actually required to be checked in order to make your list. Does the VHVN actually have any relevance in the setup or the success rate of this trade? I'm guessing you're in the process of figuring this kind of stuff out, but I think you could maybe focus on simplifying the list to be a little bit more actionable. So in that regards, it's more about, does the current context of the market and the order flow support your trade setup? So I made a little checklist over on the bottom left corner of the screen, Bruce, if you want to scroll over there. And this is just kind of the first things that pop up in my mind. If I was looking at setting up this trade for myself, I would say, what's the context? Is it trending or balanced? That's going to be pretty important. The second question I'd ask myself, is there room to scale or profit by the VPOC, which is kind of your primary target in this trade? Did you get the stops picked at the VWAP before you entered the trade, or did you front run it? Then again, I'd look at a little order flow. So are you getting any support from the liquidity in the direction that you're trading? If you're going short, are you seeing any reaction from the ask? Are people pulling on the bid? And then the reaction at the location that you're looking at. What's happening with the buyers and sellers? What's happening in the delta? Is there a response and reaction when we get to the level that you're looking at? And then lastly, I'd ask myself, one thing on your list that I thought was interesting was extended target for your runner. Now, if you're taking this trade in a trend setup, that can be a little bit more important. If you're taking it in a balanced setup, maybe you want to be closing your entire position at the VPOC. But, I'd kind of try to simplify my list a little bit, pick a few order flow elements, and find out, when we get to where we're going, does the trade actually support it? So in the slide you've pictured here, we can see, right around that kind of teal colored box where it says, where's the outside VWAP took the stops? And
where again? I'm a little lost. Teal colored box.
Yeah. So kind of about.
Not this one.
Do you see? Yeah, that one there.
Oh,
Sorry.
That looks teal to you. Okay, I'm sorry. It looks white to me. But
in the upper left, there's an arrow drawn to it, but it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
That's the section we're talking about. So price comes up and touches the VWAP, and then moves its way down to the VPOC, which is kind of the trade he's looking for. So in this case, you got about a 4-point range. Now, I would say, where are you putting your stop? Because we don't actually see an entry here, and we don't really have a clear entry marked as to where you would be going. But one thing to think about is a lot of time people say, put your stop 2 ticks outside of structure, put your stop 3 ticks outside of structure. And if you look at this trade example, where is the structure that you're placing it out of? Because we do see a little bit of a stop run. You see 199 buy stops going off into the first test of VWAP. And then we push over VWAP a little bit higher. And it's so if you're taking the first short opportunity there and you're putting your stop 2 ticks above the structure, you're getting taken out. Now you have a 4-point target. And so I would kind of start doing the math of, you know, where can you put your stop to allow a little bit of wiggle room in a trend environment? So, like, I guess I say this because if this setup is truly a trending setup, the VWAP to VPOC trade, then from my experience, allowing a little more wiggle room on your stop can kind of help you increase the odds of staying in a trending trade. I used to zoom out at the end of the day, look at a massive uptrend and say, how did I lose 5 longs trading with the trend today? And my answer was always that my stop was too tight. I was putting it right outside the edge of structure like I was always taught, and I was getting shaken out of a trade. So, you know, in this example, 2 ticks above structure on the initial breach and stop run is a losing trade. But if you're looking at it as a 4-point target, you know, as long as your stop loss fits within that 4 points and your profit is over 1-to-1, all you need is a 50% win rate to start being profitable in this setup. And so I guess if it is a trend setup, you know, consider maybe, you know, I guess tracking your stop distance and what's actually effective for you. Again, that's if it's a trend environment, which I think it is for this trade. But so, you know, just kind of the basics.
Wow.
Simplified checklist and a little bit of stop tracking, and that's kind of that.
Yeah, I'm really, really nice feedback on that, in kind of rearranging the checklist and look in. It's really nice that you had written this up here so that he can reflect off of that with his previous checklist here, and you know, maybe something shifts or changes in there for him. He's usually in here. Oh, here he is. Okay, great. DNT. If you want to give any reflect off of the feedback from Slowdown. We cannot hear you, but I believe your mic is on. All right, well, I do have something in here I just wanted to mention.
There we go.
Okay, there you are. Are you there?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, cool. Thank you, Slowdown. I really appreciate the checklist. I'm working on it, and I don't really the direction I'm trying to go with it is tough to kind of figure out what to put in the checklist, like you said. So I appreciate you giving me some tips, some pointers on doing it.
One thing I will say is sometimes if you start with a simpler checklist and then grow it as you get more familiar with the setup, like the trade that really started working for me, I started with like a 3-point checklist. It was super simple. And then as I took the trade, you know, a dozen or more times, I started thinking, I was like, well, maybe actually I should pay more attention to this little element. And then I added that to the checklist. And I actually built the checklist out rather than starting really wide and reducing. So that's another option, because like looking at your list there, you know, it might be difficult to really fill that thing in. But, you know.
Yeah. No, it is tough. I've been looking at these trades for a long time, right? So I kind of just threw in. So when I started the checklist idea, I realized that I've wasted a lot of time not doing, not tracking like a specific trade. And honestly, I, should have been tracking at least one trade, and probably would have been this one for the past year or something that I've been in Tom's room. But wasn't doing that. I didn't do that. I was focusing more on other things like structure and like contextual stuff, like what you were mentioning earlier. So working towards like actually tracking like my statistics towards a trade or multiple trades, like VWAP to VPOC or initial balance failure or continuation. Like I should have probably been tracking my own statistics, and in doing that, I'd find out what I would want to see in that trade, like where my stop would be to be picked and all that, like what you mentioned. So I mean that I feel like I wasted a lot of time, but doing it now, and I have this list, and I don't really know exactly. But yeah, it's like so like with these check marks, I can put them in Notion, and I can sort and filter out what what one of these criteria hit. If it's hit, what is a hit percentage? Another thing too that I'm finding hard with the checklists is this, the VWAP to VPOC or IB continuation or any trade really, like, when does it actually qualify? Like, and that's the hard thing. Like, so what I'm kind of trying to do is I'm trying to track all of them. If even if they fail, I'm trying to track them. So I'm trying to even see like a good win rate or a loss rate on it, and how many points does it run, like MFE. It's pretty tough to track, but at least I have an idea. So what I've noticed with the VWAP to VPOC is it's not necessarily even a trend. I don't see it as like a trend trade. I've noticed that even in a balanced market, VWAP to VPOC still works out a good percentage of the time. And like I don't have the statistics for it yet, but I'm working on it.
That's awesome. I got to say, like, I was really impressed when I started flipping through some of your screenshots and noticed that, like, you are really starting to focus on this specific setup. And I think that's awesome. And I think the more time you spend on it, you're going to find out, like, what qualifies it for you. One of the problems I had earlier when I was spending more time in the Trader's Lab is that there wasn't a clear description of when it was or wasn't qualified. And when the trade worked, it was always referred to as, see, here's our structured trade. It worked out perfectly. And then the next day, it would appear we were in a very similar market. Trade wouldn't work, and I'd be told, oh, it's not qualified. And I'd ask quite specifically, well, what qualifies it? Oh, well, you need to go back and figure that out yourself. And, so part of me thinks fair. The other part of me thinks convenient for you to say. And so, putting this checklist together, like it's not easy, and you do have to put yourself out there into the world, which is why it's an admirable quality, because you are now creating a definitive series of events that you need to see in order to engage. And your checklist won't look the same in a couple months, and that's part of the growing process. And so, like, I'd say, like, just keep at it and keep, like, reducing and refining and adapting your checklist as you go. Like, I saw some posts I did a few months ago, and it's the exact same trade I'm taking now, but the checklist looks a little different. And that was just 'cause, I'd put everything into my Notion, and every now and then I sit there on my phone and just scroll through and see if anything kind of lines up. And I realized that one of the outside edges mattered more to me than the other one. And so I started focusing more on that. And, all of a sudden now when the trade's setting up in real time, that's where my eyes are kind of going. And, it's not easy to get these checklists and to build your own system. And, especially in an environment where everybody's always right, it's always like, oh, well, see, we did this, so that's why we did this, or today we did this, and that's why we did this. And it's like,
nobody's wrong, and it's tough to explain it at the heat of the moment, right? And not a lot of people do, and it is hard to do, but because there's so much going on in so little amount of time. And even the checklists, yes, I know you referred to it as like a series of events, or you referred to it as a series of events. I don't know, like, I haven't really like looked at it as a series of events yet. I mostly looked at it as what events can occur or could occur that might make, what did I call it? Hold on a second. I think I put it like, what's the I call it favorability. So, like, not every VWAP to VPOC is going to have 100% favorability. I guess, I guess it's similar, but so when I go through and I can look at all these VWAP to VPOCs, and I can see, like, well, what's the favorability of this structured trade VWAP to VPOC? Well, the favorability is let's say 50%. So like not all these boxes need to be checked for the trade to work out all the time. The favorability might even be only be 25%, when I look back at all the data. So like even though the like maybe one or two things are here are checked, the trade still works out. Maybe I only need 25% of things to be checked for it to work out. And then I'm doing that for IB failure, IB continuation, and a couple other trades just to see it happen, or to see what it looks like over the long run. But not necessarily a series of events to happen for me to actually enter the trade. It does make, it's hard to like do the series of events thing for me too, but I don't know, maybe it's probably because I haven't tried it.
Well, it's up to you. You'll notice, like, the checklist I wrote up, like, I'm not studying the trade, so it was just, taking the
Yeah.
information I had at the moment and writing it out there. And I chose to put it in kind of a like a linear fashion, like it does
Mhm.
start at the top and it gets all the way to the bottom. And I mean, I'm a pretty simple thinker, I guess. So when I want to start like a list, or when I want to start running through a checklist in my head, I start at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. And so if I don't see number one, or I don't see number two, then I'm not looking for number three or number four. And I can
Mm.
kind of relax my brain a little bit. Trading, I think, like, it's as simple as we want it to make it, right? It's either going to go up, down, or sideways. And if you can figure out which one it's going to do, you're going to make money. But we really, like, I think some of us really tend to want to complicate it because it's a very difficult thing to be successful at consistently. So I found the more I could simplify, the easier it was to work in real time. But then also the more relaxed I was when I wasn't in a trade, because I wasn't always like on edge, like thinking like, is this it? Is this it? Is this my setup? And over time, over several months, and maybe longer now, it just, like, they kind of just get burned in your head, and you don't even really need to see the list anymore. But
Wow. Yeah, so I'm mostly building kind of like a database, but I see what you're saying. You're trying to simplify it. Man, it is tough. I'll try to look at. Maybe I'll try to do both. But it is nicer keeping your own stats and really kind of putting into a database so you can keep track of it. Um, and yeah, a lot of people aren't really doing that. It'd be good. I would, if I can, like I'm kind of doing it, like I said, a database. If I can kind of get it a little bit more, cleaned up or something, I'll share it, and that way everybody else can start keeping their trades in Notion. Notion's pretty nice because you can actually filter it and see like, how often does this trade work? Well, you only need maybe about 25% of these check boxes to be checked for the trade to work. So are you going to take that trade? Most likely.
yeah, you'll notice
Uh,
different checkboxes will probably have different weighting into the success rate. The other thing is, like, everything I've said is just an idea. It's just an opinion, right? Like, if it doesn't resonate
right.
with you, or if you're into something else, like, that's great. Like, I didn't find success from doing what other people did or doing what other people told me to do. Ultimately, like, you take a little bit from here and you take a little bit from there, and you really start to just go after the part that's resonating with you and making sense to you. Um, you know,
Mhm.
Everybody who streams for Bookmap is like, Doug, Bruce, Tom, Moby. Everyone's like working on a different time frame with a different set of criteria, and there's proof in that. Like, we can all approach this slightly differently and make it work. So, don't stop what you're doing based on any feedback I've given you. If any of the feedback I've given you resonates, great. Otherwise, like, who cares? Who cares what I think? Who cares what anybody thinks? You got to just really start working on the points that make the most sense to you, and just really
Mhm.
pursue that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Another thing too that, uh, man, like I was saying that I felt like I wasted a lot of time or whatever. Well, if I had been just focusing on like one trade and seeing if I had just been focusing on one while like learning or doing other things, I feel like I probably would have been profitable over time, but instead I've been trying to like do so many different things instead of just focusing on one. Kind of, I feel like that set me back. Another thing too that I felt set me back is, that it really kind of is enlightening to hear, was what David mentioned earlier. He said, sometimes it's you just, if you can make maybe 2 points or something like that a day, then you could probably be pretty happy with that. And then just to kind of slow down and minimize your trading, like over trading, I think is probably one of my biggest downfalls is that. And even though I have these structured trades, I still kind of I still tend to overtrade, and I'm like, why am I doing this? So that's why I really wanted to narrow down and just focus on maybe one trade or maybe two trades or something like that, or maybe focus on one while I'm organizing my statistics for others. So yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, makes good sense. Slow down. I don't know if you still have more to say. I mean, we're getting kind of up there in time, but there was
Yeah, yeah.
a comment, one comment I wanted to make. I'm itching to ask, but slow down if you have any more feedback for DNT.
No, I just say keep going like in the direction you're going. It's always getting better, and find what resonates with you and pursue it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for your feedback, man. Always appreciated. Yeah, especially with the checklist things. It is a bit difficult to navigate. But so like you said, it is just navigating through it and adjusting as I go, and that's pretty much how it feels like what I'm doing. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Keep it up.
Just a note. Look in the chat, Donkey Face, or if you want to watch DNT Matter, if you want to watch Donkey Face's webinar from yesterday, he talks about all of these things that you're mentioning and Slowdown's mentioning in really a really nice way, like a very humble and there's some humility there, and it just like he's saying, it has to resonate with you. And he also talks about over trading and other things that might be helpful.
Yeah, I might check that out. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing that session with them. I'll check it out. Thanks, Donkey.
Just one more thing, I just itching to ask. I mean, did this reverse? Did this go up afterwards?
Yeah, this was actually yesterday. So it touched the VPOC, went up, and then to the VWAP where you see where that picture ends, and it consolidated here and gradually fell off, but the fall off didn't come back to VPOC again. It actually stopped and squeezed up to maybe about, I don't know, 86 or something like that, and then it went back down, almost back to VPOC again, and missed it by 3 ticks,
Huh.
and then squeezed everybody out yesterday. For the 2 days, I think the market's been like consolidating. Well, it squeezed those past 2 days out. It's pretty crazy. This was yesterday. I don't know if you remember that. At
I,
the end of the day.
Yeah, I've been quite busy with a lot of things at Bookmap and also going through the crypto stuff. But I mean, I'm just seeing. I almost. I don't even think I have a recording of this data. I'll have to ask somebody for the recording because look. I mean, just look at the selling coming in. Look at the liquidity down below. This is beautiful stuff, and it doesn't trade into it. But look at you've got your delta up here. That's a beautiful trap. I mean, it's
It
just
was.
beautiful.
It was, and I was gone. I missed this. Oh man, I was so frustrated yesterday. But yeah, you're right. This was just waiting to pop.
And look at the other side here of the volume. It's just even down here and up in here. I mean, there's a little bit of kind of confusion here, but it's looking pretty good to squeeze. But the order flow is just, I mean, like I almost want to use this for like a video because it has a lot of elements in here that are really nice for a continuation or a reversal. But you said it only went up to about 86 here, and then it came all the way back down. Well, all the way back down to just shy of
Yep.
your
Mm-hmm.
VPOC. So it just didn't have enough legs in it. But it's looking good though. And I'm sure you can see that transition in volume right here. Try to mark that up a little bit better. So you have all of this sell volume, and now you're getting your pockets of there's little pockets in here of your buyers, but you're starting to see the transition take place, yeah, it just looks good for it.
Yep. Some of that liquidity took and then re-added. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, good stuff. Any comments, gentlemen? Over to David.
No, good charting, very good charting. On the stop point, have you ever thought of maybe switching from minis to micros, just so you can give it a much wider and see if that sort of works out? Get your head around that, maybe.
I did, and I have this like problem where I like see my. I know I don't know. I trying to put my P&L away just recently, but
Yeah.
I mean when you're doing with micros and you just made a sick trade, and then you look and it's like what $10 or $50 or something. It's like, dude, man.
Yeah,
So
commission.
I've struggled with micros. I've tried scaling in with multiple micros, like Crash said, like 10 micros or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
still like it's pretty tough. But I'm still playing with that idea.
Sure. No, it's a tough one. There's no answer on stops. Says me. If there's anything else traders talk about, is stops.
Yeah.
Hindsight's wonderful, but otherwise, it's
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It is tough, and trying to track them even is tough too. Yeah, I agree.
But good stuff. No, good chatting. Thank you.
Gentlemen, well, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. If we didn't get to you, well, we probably got to you last week, or, continue to build content and post it, and we'll go over your stuff and give some feedback. So anyway, looking at the audience in here, most of you guys that are hanging out in here have done that, and we've gone through your content. So yeah, we'll go over more in the crypto, because there's some new guys have been making some really good stuff. Tamatoa in particular, I don't think he's in here right now, but and he's new to Bookmap, or at least new to posting. So some really great stuff. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, coaches, and thank you, traders.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a nice weekend as well.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything you do, man.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.